stood out in the group, the only adult male in a bevy of women and children. If that bothered him, he didn't show it. He was accepting a heaping plate from Leah's mother, bending over her with courteous attention. "Your mom is taking good care of him," Rachel said, "and if she wasn't, someone else would jump at the chance for sure. A widower just come from Lancaster to join our community? You know every woman in Pleasant Valley will be thinking to match him up with a daughter or sister, they will. They'd do better not to matchmake. Daniel Glick looks well able to decide for himself if he needs a wife." Daniel's firm jaw and the determined set to his broad shoulders under the plain work shirt he wore suggested a man who knew what he wanted and who wouldn't be easily deflected from his course. He was probably a good hand at avoiding any unwanted matchmaking. Rachel, her blue eyes dancing with mischief as if they were 10 again, nudged her. "You'd best tell that to your mom, then. I expect she's already inviting him to supper so we can get to know you." "Me?" Her voice squeaked a bit, so she was glad that she and Rachel stood a little apart from the others. "Rachel, that's foolish. Everyone has known for years that I'm a Midel." "Years," Rachel scoffed, her rosy cheeks growing rounder with amusement. Rachel did still look like the girl she'd once been, her cap strings flying as they'd chased one another in a game in this same schoolyard. Leah couldn't remember a time when Rachel hadn't been a part of her life. They'd shared enough joy and sorrow to bond them forever. "I know very well how old you are, Leah Beiler," Rachel continued, "because we were born within a month of each other. And you are only an old maid if you want to be." Leah crinkled her nose. "A Midel," she said firmly, "and I'm a schoolteacher with a love of learning besides, which frightens men off." Rachel's smile slid away suddenly, and her smooth brow furrowed. "Leah, it would break my heart if I thought you meant to stay single all your life because of Johnny." The name startled her, and it was all she could do to keep dismay from showing on her face. When Johnny Kile left Pleasant Valley, fence-jumping to the English world like too many young men, he'd left behind his family, including his twin sister Rachel, who'd loved him dearly. And he'd left Leah, the girl he'd said he'd loved, the girl he'd planned to marry that November once the harvest season was over. Many of those young men who left came back, penitent and ready to rejoin the community after a brief time in the English world, but not Johnny. She had to speak, or Rachel would think this more serious than it was. Close as they were, she didn't want Rachel to know how Johnny's loss had grieved her. It would only hurt Rachel, to no good end. "No, of course that's not why. Johnny and I were no more than boy and girl sweethearts. You know that." Rachel's hand closed over hers in a brief, warm grip. "You loved him. That's what I know." "It was a long time ago," she said firmly, shutting away bittersweet memories. "What has brought on thoughts of him today?" Rachel had not mentioned Johnny's name since the day she'd run to the Beiler house, tears streaming down her cheeks, to tell Leah that he had gone. It had shamed his family, as well as grieved them, that he'd left in that way, with no word for his betrothed, and only a short note for them. "No reason," Rachel said, but her gaze drifted away from Leah's. She set down the filled plate on the nearest table so she could grasp her friend's wrist. "Rachel, tell me the truth." It was the warning tone she used with her scholars when they attempted to evade a question. Rachel shook her head, dashing away a sudden tear. "My birthday is next week. Johnny's birthday too, of course. It reminds me." "And it hurts," Leah said softly. She knew about that pain. "I'm being foolish," Rachel sniffed. "Here come your mom and Daniel Glick to talk to you. I'd best see if any of those platters need filling." She scurried off, giving no chance for Leah to say a word of comfort, even if she could think of one.